Hey there, I'm Joe Dickerson with the Joe Dickerson Group at Keller Williams Realty in Oakland, California. We have a passion for helping people build wealth through real estate, and one way we recently accomplished this was by partnering with a homeowner to fully renovate their property to maximize the sales price when selling. Essentially, it was a fix and flip. In this video, we're going to walk through what exactly a fix and flip is and outline the process to make them most successful. We'll cover how to find and analyze a property and steps to take before getting started, and some common pitfalls to avoid. So first, what is a fix and flip? Flipping a property essentially means purchasing the property with the intent of selling it for a profit in a relatively short amount of time. And most often it involves renovating or improving the property in some way while you own it, though it doesn't have to. So the purpose is profit. And with investments where you're putting in hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's fair to expect the profits to be in line with the risk. And everyone's risk tolerance is going to be a little different, so there isn't a set amount of profit or return on investments to aim for. And we'll get more into the numbers in future videos so you can determine what is right and realistic for you. But before you can flip a house, you need to identify a property to flip. We've seen these properties come from a variety of sources, including family and friends sending out mailers, those "We Buy Ugly Houses" signs that are tacked up absolutely everywhere, as well as the MLS, or Multiple Listing Service. And the first thing that we do with a house that looks like it might be a good contender is to roughly estimate how much it will cost to acquire the house, how much work is needed, and what it might sell for after the renovations are completed. It comes down to a simple math problem. You take your final sales price, or what you expect to sell the property for after you make all those repairs. You subtract out the purchase price, which is the amount you're buying the property for now, and subtract out the cost of the renovations that you're going to do. And that gives you a very rough estimated projected profit. And if that profit number is enticing enough to take on the project, then it's probably worth a closer look. For example, let's say you have the opportunity to purchase a property for $600,000 and you expect to put in about $200,000 to repair the property. And based on the market, you think you could sell it for about $1 million after renovations are complete. To figure out your profit, you would take the $1 million sales price, subtract out the $600,000 for the purchase price, and then subtract out the $200,000 for the renovations, and you'd have $200,000 in potential profit. But one of the biggest question marks in this equation is the renovation costs. And in order to get that number as close as possible to the actual number, you'll need to walk through with a contractor or contractors to get a more precise idea of what it will cost to complete the renovation. You'll also need to factor in the cost to purchase the property, the holding cost, and the selling cost. And these three are most often overlooked by inexperienced flippers, so don't fall into that trap. Your purchasing costs, those are essentially your closing costs during the buying process. And these often include title and escrow fees, loan origination fees, city transfer taxes, among others. And holding costs are kind of what it sounds like. It's how much it actually costs you to own the property. And these expenses typically include property taxes and mortgage payments, if any, as well as insurance and utility costs. Calculating holding costs accurately requires a good idea of how long the renovations will take, plus the amount of time it takes to market and sell the property. And depending on the scope of these renovations, this holding period could last between about 3 months and all the way to a year or more. So in other words, if your renovations take 3 months to complete, be sure to factor in at least 3 months of mortgage payments and taxes and insurance and utility costs, plus the additional time once the property is listed that you might be holding onto the property while you find a buyer. And lastly, you have the selling costs. And these are your closing costs that you incur as a seller. which typically include your real estate brokerage commissions, as well as some city and county transfer taxes. And the final piece in firming up our numbers is accurately defining a sales price. And this is often done with the help of a real estate agent who will ultimately be listing the property for you for sale. And having these numbers be as accurate as possible is key to a successful flip. And now that we have these numbers together, we can move on to everything else to be considered ideally prior to your purchase. So these things to consider vary from project to project, but essentially you want to reduce the risk of surprise by fully investigating everything you can about a property. This includes the property's current condition to make sure you're budgeting for all the necessary repairs, and even those that may not be visibly obvious, like the condition of the plumbing or electrical systems. We generally suggest performing a general home inspection as well as a wood-destroying pests and organisms inspection to give a more thorough picture of the property's condition. And additionally, you'll want to confirm that the local jurisdiction will allow you to perform the renovations that you think you want to perform. You may learn, for example, that zoning requirements don't let you build the addition that you were planning on building. And not having that addition will likely substantially impact your sales price and change your profit number. One of the best things that we did on our recent flip was to hire a designer. And the design team worked with the city for us to make sure that we could do what we wanted to do, as well as made crowd-pleasing design choices to maximize our sales price. So now that we've talked about how to find and analyze a potential fix and flip property, as well as some things to consider to set up your flip for success, let's talk about some potential pitfalls. We've all seen those fix and flip shows on HGTV where things inevitably go wrong. In real life flips, surprises happen all the time too, but thankfully there are ways to prepare for and mitigate potential pitfalls. And the most common pitfall is not having contingency funds. Going over budget happens. You may open up a wall to find some mold that needs to be remediated, or discover large amounts of rot in framing that has to be dealt with. Building extra funds into your plan to deal with problems like these is incredibly wise. And one rule of thumb that we often see is to add about 20% to your renovation budget for unexpected overages. Another avoidable pitfall is hiring an unvetted contractor. You want to end up with someone who will finish the job as close to on budget and on schedule as possible. So call some past clients of your contractor to confirm that they're likely to perform. And the last avoidable pitfall has to do with overestimating how much the property will actually be worth when you are all finished. Sometimes we get caught in that mindset that everything will be just great, and we fail to notice the impact of the liquor store next door and what it will have on value, or the tiny lots, or the proximity to the water treatment facility. Be sure to factor in these negative conditions as well with the positive when you're making your after renovation valuation. Okay, so at a high level, we've discussed how to find and analyze a fix and flip, steps to take before getting started, and some common pitfalls to avoid. Do you have any other creative ways to find flippable properties? Any pitfalls that you've run into personally that you'd like to share? Please let us know in the comments below. And finally, if you've liked this video, hit that like button, share it with your friends, and be sure to subscribe. I'm Joe Dickerson with the Joe Dickerson Group at Keller Williams Realty. Thank you so much for watching.